I'm Pio Vincenzo. This is Nifty Culture, and I'm here with multidisciplinary digital creator, the toomuchlag. How's it going, man?
Nice to meet you guys. Good, good. Excited to be here, man. How you doing?
I'm I'm good, man. I'm excited to have you. We're talking to you here on the day of your Nifty Gateway drop, the follow up to your last drop that featured what is now a top 5 grossing all time Nifty Gateway piece, Le Anime, and we'll definitely get into that. But yeah, super excited to have you here, and really looking forward to talking about that drop and the other things that you have going on right now.
Excited. Let's get through it.
Let's go. So, what can you kind of tell us about this drop? Like, we'll circle back and we'll talk about the last drop. We'll talk about your creative beginnings, but like right off the bat, I wanted to talk about the drop that's happening tonight, what it means to you and where you see it going.
Okay, so tonight's drop, it's called Our Redemption, which is the follow-up drop from the first, which was My Journey, which is why I decided to call it Our Redemption, because it's the whole project has become a community project, and there are so much people behind it now that it feels only natural to be inclusive of everyone. So I decided to sort of nod to that in the title first. And this drop is 4 pieces. The full collection is actually 5 pieces, so there's gonna be a few surprises right off the bat. And it's 4 pieces, and it continues the journey that was started in the first drop with My Journey, with the anime project. We'll get into that a little bit more later probably, but the Le Anime Open Edition was an incredibly successful open edition. 1,573 mints, so a big supply of NFT that was paired through smart contracts to a collectible aspect of the project. So with each NFT, you would get a second-ish NFT, which is tied to your original, so it still counts as one, but it will give you a character with different traits and rarities, both visually and on the metadata. So there's quite a lot to digest there, but this drop is a follow up to that, and it brings the story forward, and it rewards collectors that have been part of the project so far and that are joining the project as we speak through secondary sales, because you can still access tonight's drop, which is sort of like gatekept by a entry requirement of having one of my NFTs to enter the 20 edition, and then 3 NFTs to enter the 1010 edition, and so on and so forth, up to the rarest, which is a free edition called Invicta. So it's a reward for toomuchlag collectors, but also a way to join the project if you just find it now.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing I wanted to talk to you about is how successful your drop structures have been since you've started dropping on Nifty Gateway. Definitely the Le Anime drop comes to mind. It seems like you were earlier than other artists when it comes to understanding the value that you need to bring to collectors. What you just talked about, like the complexity of the Le Anime drop, how there's that sort of second reward for collectors. And then now today's drop is incentivizing people to own one or more of your previous pieces, which is obviously inherently beneficial for people that are already collectors of yours. Was that a, kind of concerted effort from you? Like, did you go into this understanding that? Was it kind of a happy accident? How did that come about for you?
I feel like it would be a good mix of both. So experimenting and learning on the way. I feel like the first drop was sort of like a surprise in a way, because I wasn't expecting that great of a reaction from the community. Obviously, I was really excited about it. I knew it was gonna be good, because I really liked the work that I did, and the full aspect of like the smart contract and the complexity of the story in like intrinsic in the drop was were strong points, but definitely did not anticipate any of what followed. So from there, it was sort of like trying to do the best to manage it in the most successful way, because it's not easy. Once you get such a big response, then you sort of have to meet certain expectations, and the community.
Okay. So yeah, we're live on this interview. I think Too Much Lag just dropped. I actually have a patron of the arts in the waiting room right now, a modern day Isabella Stewart Gardner, if you will. And I want to bring him in and have a chat with him in the meantime. We're going to ping Too Much Lag. I'm sure he'll pop back on. Oh, here he is. No, he's back. All right. We're holding off on our patron. We're going to bring him in a little bit later.
I think my phone just died. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. So where did you lose me? Probably at managing expectations. So yeah, I was saying, when you get such a big response, the community expects a lot from the project itself, and being a one-man, I would say almost two-man show, because Mauro is a big part of this and helps a lot with managing the community as well. But it's a lot to respond to, and you obviously want to make everyone happy, and it's not always easy, you know, especially because some people are way more invested than others, so they want certain things. Other people want other things. For example, someone that is not part of the project was complaining that the project is gatekept just to people that hold my NFT, and then how do you reward the people that actually hold the NFT? So there's always a bit of debate back and forth, but in general, the response has always been really good. I try to be quite scarce as an artist, so I try to mint only when I feel like I really want to mint a piece and give it that importance. So yeah, this drop it was a bit of an experiment as well. See how the collectors would appreciate it and react to it. So I'm really excited to see how it goes tonight. The community is quite excited, so I have hope it will do well.
I'm sure it will, man. And I'll be covering it live, doing a drop watch while it's happening. So I'll be sure that, my audience kind of understands the complexity of it. We were talking a little bit off air right before we went live about the origins of the titling in the last drop, in the Le Anime drop, and its reference to Dante's Inferno. Could you talk about the creative side of that and what made you make the decisions that you made with those works?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So I've talked about this a few times, but I'll try not to bore everyone with it again. But basically, yeah, I grew up in an Italian-speaking region of my country, Switzerland. So in school, it was obviously Italian. We studied Italian literature, and the Divina Commedia is one of the biggest masterpiece of literature in the world, and it's a super important part of Italian history. So it's a book that we studied in school, and when you're in school, you never really pay attention because it's boring and it's a huge book and it's written all weird. It's quite a heavy book unless you have summaries to go with it. But the story itself is super fascinating. This autobiography by Dante, going through an adventure. What is like a normal adventure in the forest, gets lost, gets taken through this door, this gate, and this passage through hell, that it's then divided into layers. It gets as it gets deeper, it gets more violent. The punishments that occur there are all metaphors related to what the people have done and or sinned through their lives. And this is just the first book, Inferno, which is the part of the book that I took inspiration from and based the first drop on. So I made it. I used this narrative and this journey as a way to portray what happened to my life. So my, not necessarily sins, but my misadventures or things in the past that have held me back, or I needed to surpass in order to become a better person, in my opinion, because obviously this is all very personal. But it's a super fascinating journey, and I love how the use of metaphors is applied to describe really complex circumstances, but to facilitate it through something visually easy to remember, whether it's like a minotaur or the punishment of being chased by a storm of dust for eternity because you've been luxurious in your life. So there's a lot of that there's a lot of inspiration to take from. And in the first drop, I've created 5 pieces where basically the journey starts at the top in the forest with the guy walking. If you see the open edition is the main character. In that case, it would be me, but it could be you as the viewer of the piece. It's intended to be as like one's journey through life in this dark forest, and then it stumbles upon this door that leads to hell, and then the different pieces, Inferno, Amore, Gigante, are sort of like as you go down through hell, you'll encounter these layers of redemption that you have to face. And at the bottom of hell, it would be sitting Lucifer, so the last judgment. It would be the devil. So I call the last piece Il Diavolo in Italian, which is a piece that shows me the main character, which is sort of a plot twist where I am Lucifer. I am my own devil, because I'll be the only one like casting the last judgment on what I've done through my life. So that was more or less the first drop, and what's behind it.
Well, that's a very deep and powerful metaphor, man. That's awesome. And I'm sure that, your collectors love to hear those kinds of details, since they're owners of your work. Your name, like toomuchlag, and, the pieces that I've seen you drop so far, there's a little bit of a nod to like video games and, like video game based artwork. Could you talk about that inspiration and how the origins of that and how it comes into your work?
Absolutely. I love to talk about it. Yeah, basically, I've spent most of my youth playing video games and watching like fantasy movies. I didn't have a TV when I was young, so I didn't have the sort of like sit on the couch, turn on the TV and consume aspect of it, which it was a blessing in hindsight. Like in retrospective, I'm really happy I didn't have that luxury, because it sort of like saved me from being brainwashed by advertisement. So I would have to pick what to watch, because okay, my phrasing is incorrect. I had a TV. I didn't have like the channel service, like the satellites. Back then it was a cable. We would call it the cable. So I would have a lot of movies like VHS or back after DVDs. I would have a lot of that and a lot of video games. So a lot of my time was spent playing role play games. I love JRPGs, fantasy games, all kind of games where you have to sort of evolve through the game and create your own journey within the game, rather than games where your path is set. I like games that give you sort of like the option to wander and collect what you're interested in, and sort of like build your own journey within the game. And I feel like some of the traits that attracts me towards these games that I don't have the time to play anymore are shared through the work that I do. So I try to do work that I feel like I'm going on an adventure. I feel like I'm bringing a new perspective or a different world where everything is possible. And I love a lot of like trivias, everything that you have to sort of like dig a little bit deeper, where like it's rewarded to spend the time, actually look, what is this trying to tell? Where is this leading me? So I love to add a layer of complexity to just the visual itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I grew up in the 90s, so I was like definitely a video game kid growing up too. And I'm wondering if you kind of share this opinion with me. Do you feel that like video games and the artwork specifically in video games really throughout history, right? Because it's all the way from the beginning to right now. Do you feel that that's like a slept on, like, not acknowledged source of really modern fine art?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I always say that the people creating video games are masterminds, because they're so well thought out. Like there's a story aspect that needs to be really well woven together to make it a cool story. There's a visual aspect that in most games these days is insanely well created and stunning. Like it's crazy to think that some of these are actually video game. They fit in a little drive. So it's the work that goes behind some of these games is insane. So definitely, I would consider the games itself pieces of art. And then if you want to slice it up deeper, for sure, there's games where you enter a town hall and just environment is spectacular. So I would definitely agree on that. Yeah.
Can you give the fans one game where you think like, hey, that game's artwork is crazy? Like any games that come to mind right away?
Right away, I would say like World of Warcraft, because it's probably the game that has had the biggest influence on me. Although it wasn't like the first MMORPG that I played, it's definitely the one that sucked most of my life out, um, because of the vast world that you have access to, the the multiple races within the world, the multiple lores related to each race. Like you would be able to play the game, then read a book about the game, about a single race, and then about the race you would have another book just for a single hero within that race. It's so deep. The storyline is so deep and has so many roots in different books and other games related to the Warcraft universe that it's mind blowing, and that the graphics itself is I love it. It's just outstanding.
I definitely agree with you. And I feel like, all of these different video games that have their own sort of ecosystems, like you just talked about, that Warcraft does, for example, I think that
Hmm.
this will be something in the future that Hollywood movie makers, filmmakers will try to tap into, because it's not, dissimilar to Star Wars or, Marvel comics or DC comics, like these universes that have fictional characters, but very, very rich, deep stories that all like interplay with one another and can kind of serve as a launching board for new stories down the line. So yeah, I mean, I think
Hmm.
that's a really good observation. Okay, so we talked about video games as an influence. We talked about, for example, Dante and like some of that traditional literature as an influence. I know that Italy and Europe in general has a very rich art history when it comes to visual artwork. Are there any, artists, whether modern or, ancient artists, that you kind of look at as inspiration for your work too?
That's a good question. I have no idea actually. Like, I I have this thing where I never remember names, like of people in general, of movies, of books, of songs. Like, just remember the actual name. For me, it doesn't work. It just doesn't stick to my brain. So I've seen thousands of movies. I would probably be able to name like five. Like my my memory for names is literally zero. So the same applies to artists. So it would be really hard to like call like traditional artists up just to say I took inspiration from here or there. I'm sure throughout everything that I've seen, I take inspiration from like the collectiveness of the stuff that I look at. I would have a hard time naming specific artists. I'm not the type of person that sort of like creates a mood board before working. Um, I don't do like specific like mood board tables where I would put a couple like famous artists that I like and like maybe look at their lighting, or other artists that I like and then look at the user color and try to recreate some of that. I don't have this approach, so it's really hard to say where my inspiration come from, like actually like so precisely. What I tend to do when I work is I come up with a story in my head. I write it down and then I try to visualize elements of the story, but I pull up images from Google that are like completely unrelated. So let's say, um, to make an example for tonight's drop, there's a piece in the desert with some like relics. Um, so I would maybe type desert pictures and then ruins in the desert. I'll pull up photographs of random, just to get a vibe of like where I want to go at, and I would play with it. But sorry, that's the dog. But but no more than that. So no more accurate than that. So it's still very hard to name one artist or two.
Hey, you're just completely original. Sorry everybody, you're not getting a cosign right now.
No, absolutely not. Like I'm not trying to say that because I believe like being original. I always say being original is just a good practice of being able to copy from different sources and mix it in a different way. Not to say that that's what I do, but to say I think that's what everyone does without even realizing it. Like I've grew up with The Matrix, Lord of the Rings. Like it's obvious that some of that will stick, and then you'll translate it. You have to make an animation of someone with a sword slaying a monster. your head will go and think about the movies that you've seen, because it's not like every day when you go to the store to buy apples, you'll see someone slaying a monster, you know. So your brain has to go somewhere to pick the ideas. So involuntarily you're copying someone else's work, but then you're re-elaborating it in your head, in your head. So the result will be different, will have a different taste.
For sure. And so one collaboration I was hoping to talk to you about is I saw on your Instagram that you did something with Will Smith, which is, you know, obviously here in the United States, he's a huge name. How did that one come about?
I believe he's a huge name everywhere. It's like Will Smith's crazy. Yeah, so that when that happened, I couldn't believe it myself, which is why I actually didn't reply, because I got reached out in like December, mid-December, I think. I'm always terrible at remembering timeframes, but somewhere in December, I got reached out by Will, and he was saying, "Hey, love your work. Would love to do something together." So I ghosted it, because I was like, "This is obviously fake. It has to be a joke. This has to be a joke." And I ghosted it for a while. Then I received another email from Westbrook, which is the company of Will's. I received an email from the team, and the team was like, "Yo, are you gonna follow up on this?" And I sort of like waited for a bit again. So I got a second email, a third, considering the first, a third email that says, "Hey, we're actually serious about this. We'd love to do something together. We love your animations, your words, these golden gods that you have in your work. It'll be sick to do something together." And that was it. I was like, "Oh, if this is legit, well, for sure, I'd love to do it." Amazing opportunity, and big fan of Will, like, who isn't? So it was totally like a fanboy moment, and I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And they gave me total freedom to do whatever I wanted. So I came up with that piece, and had Mauro, my flatmate, the person who works with me on most of the projects, and the person who did all the music on the first drop too, and on most of my pieces. I had him work on the music, so we created some custom soundtrack for the piece as well, and that was it. Quite simpler than expected.
Yeah, that must have been it must have been a trip. It's also funny that you just ghosted Will Smith for like 3 months.
That was very involuntary, and I apologize for that.
Do you think Will Smith was up at night thinking like, why is this guy ghosting me?
I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. He's so busy. He probably has like a million projects a day. So I highly doubt that. Or maybe since I ghosted and I probably not, doesn't happen very often. Maybe it just stuck to him. It was like, why is this person actually ghosting me? What the heck? Yeah, very random.
All right, so let's I'm going to bring in one of your collectors, a very big fan of yours, Sven from the Mad Pups. He's a modern day patron of the arts. You know, I was saying before, he's a modern day Isabella Stewart Gardner, and that's a bad joke. Here we go. Let's bring in Sven.
Hey guys.
Hey Sven.
What's going on?
How you doing, man?
You know, I'm doing pretty well. I like you got. It looks like you got a pull-up bar behind you or something. So you look like you're getting work at. It's impressive.
It's you gotta do what you can in the little time that's left.
This collab with Will Smith might be starring in an action movie or something. I'm not sure.
I gotta beef up to the role. I saw his training too. He's doing some Instagram videos where they're getting back in shape, I think. It's quite fun.
No, that's awesome.
So I mean, for people that don't know, Sven is one of the people in the Mad Pups collective of NFT enthusiasts, NFT collectors. Sven has an expansive NFT collection that does feature many works by toomuchlag. Really happy to have you on. I wanted to see if there were any questions that you have, or just any kind of discussions that you wanted to get going, since we have them here the day of the drop.
Yeah, well, when I heard this was happening, I said, let me ask a question. And they said, why don't you just pop on stream? And I said, sure. Why not? It's funny. We talk on Discord all the time. Steph and I do. And that's actually the first thing I want to ask you, man, is like, how do you find the time to make such awesome art when you're constantly in Discord, hanging out with the community? I mean, like talk more about this. Like you've built such an awesome community. I mean, these anime detectives are out of their minds. Like I don't know when they sleep. I'm getting pings saying, you know, hey, like you're in some tablets somewhere. I'm like, what is happening here? It's like, how do you find the time to do all this?
Yeah, good question. I wish I could ask it to the guy next to me, but there's no one. But yeah, it's crazy. Like this is actually one of the most underrated aspect, I think, of this whole NFT craziness around Twitter and stuff. Not many people stop to wonder how long it takes to actually interact with the community and social media, which is something I really suck at. So I'm glad you think I'm doing a good job, because obviously I try my best to be present as much as I can. But it's a lot. It's a lot of time to read all the messages and go through it and try to answer everyone. Also, the way I work, if I see a message, then my brain is like forced to answer it. I can't just leave it there hanging, you know. So every time something pops up, I'm like, oh, I gotta answer here, and I try to do it as quick as I can, because obviously that will distract me from work. So when I'm doing a piece, like for the Nifty Drop, for example, I try to shut down all the chatting software. So I would close Discord, I would close Twitter, and force myself not to open it. Because if I have it open, I have two screens. So if I have it open on one screen, I'll be constantly looking at it, and it just takes you out of the creative process of like letting your mind wander to create random stuff, I suppose. So it's very challenging. It's very challenging. But as you said, we have an awesome community with the Anime and the toomuchlag project now. And there's a lot of the community sort of like backs itself. There's a lot of people that volunteer to carry on doing some duties and helping the community. There'll be someone trying to answer the question before I do, so that the conversation can keep going. So I really appreciate all the support that I get from the community itself.
Well, it's good to know that you're obviously, you know, busy making something awesome when you're ignoring me. So now I don't feel so bad.
I try to answer as fast as I can.
No, look, there's a lot of discords out there, right? I mean, I think we all know, and we're all into many of them, but I got my favorites, and obviously, you know, yours is super fun, and you know, it's the other people. I mean, I remember drop night, you know, it was wild, obviously. And then the couple days after, trying to, you know, pick up some souls that I got very lucky. I'm not ashamed about it, you know, with 100 and 420. You know, I'm quite pleased with the collection, but then the community being like, oh my God, this is incredible. How'd you get that? Like they make it more fun. Like if I were just collecting the stuff on my own, it's cool. I mean, I love the art. But enjoying it with everyone else has been really great. And I think it's your role in the community too. And you know, shout out to Moro as well, because you know, he's a huge part of the community, and so many others. You know, it's been really great. So that's part of the drop though, right? You're giving back to everybody. And yes, you know, I just want to say on behalf of your collectors, like, thank you. Like this is awesome. I'm channeling positive energy to win, but I'm not overconfident. So you know, I got the credit card ready in case I got to go you know, out on the secondary to get this stuff. But what are your expectations for tonight? Because like your drop was so fun last time. This is a different type of drop. Like how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for what you just said, and I appreciate the support, man. And I'm glad you got lucky as well, because it just makes everything even greater. Sven actually got two super rare characters. I was saying at the beginning that the first drop is connected to this collectible project, Le Anime, which has these characters with different traits. And Sven has a couple of those that have some really rare traits, and has one where the character is actually missing, so you can only see the clothes, which is very, very unique indeed. So tonight, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I'm really excited. Hopefully it goes really well and smooth with Nifty as well. The mechanic seems to have worked fine in the previous days. Some of the similar drops. So really confident that the team will execute it correctly. And regarding the vibes, I don't know, man. Good vibes, I think. I'm really happy that the collectors get to get something back. Really curious to see how many entries in general there'll be, and very curious to see what happens on the secondary market if because it's already existing collectors. It's very interesting to see then what will happen if most of the winners will just lock it in, don't even put it on sale, or if some people will try to make a flip. Very, very curious. Everyone's welcome to do whatever they prefer, obviously, but very curious to see what's going to happen.
Well, I am pretty confident that anything that hits the secondary, you guys better price it higher. It's going to go fast, right? So that's a warning to other collectors. Like, don't. I mean, paper handed until I get mine. Then move it up, because I think you're right. A lot of collectors like myself. I mean, if I get lucky enough, knock on wood here, if I get lucky enough to win, the 03 or 05, that's not in the market. And so I know the other people with entries to make those draws, and I don't know if they're hitting the market. So that's certainly something to look forward to. But so here's the other question I want to ask, and then I'll I don't want to dominate. I can talk too much, as everyone knows from the last time I was on the stream. So I don't want to keep talking. But as soon as this happens, right? I mean, the Landmade detectives are already on it, and everyone just keeps thinking ahead. And like, that is what is so exciting to me about this project. And I've said this many times. We've seen other collectible projects in the NFT space, right? This week's been all about Bored Apes, and then it's the bonsai trees yesterday, which actually pretty cool. And there's so many others that people get excited about, and yet your project is this incredible collectibles project that is building a story and growing. It's the only project really like that on Nifty, but it's growing and can transcend that. Like, everyone's going to be thinking not just to the next drop, but like way down the road. Like, how do you think about this vision and executing on? Because I'm confident that you're going to hit all the marks you need to along the way. But like, this is such a massive undertaking. Like, are you just like right back to work tomorrow, like on the next step? Like, what happens?
So good question, man. Good question. So I have sort of a direction where I want to bring things, like a very clear direction as a general sort of like underlying base of direction that I want to sort of like attend to and respect. But what happens on the way, it's very flexible. So I allow myself the flexibility to change things around where I see fit, to adjust with the market. Like, for example, this drop, if the market was acting different, could have been a little bit different, for example. So I adjusted it in hindsight of the reaction of people, like what's going on with the market, how people are reacting to projects, how people are mentally set on certain aspects of NFTs and crypto. And it's good to play along and challenge these aspects, but at the same time, I think being smart about the market that you're in it's a good move. So to do that, the project needs to be sort of like flexible. You need to be ready to expand in a direction than in the other, where it's more where it's a better investment for the project. So if an initial idea all of a sudden is not as strong for the future of the project, I would probably challenge it, and I would try to find a better solution at that point with the new knowledge that I've acquired, and so on and so forth. So I always try to go back and challenge the route that I want to take, so that I see the survivability of it, the success rate. I try to think about a bit like that, and on the long run, I'm hoping it will be a successful project going forward, like, and keep being successful. I have a few aces up my sleeve that are gonna come out some sooner than later, and then some aspects of the project, of course, require a lot more development, like actual development, like to be built. They require more time. So some of those are being worked now, and some will come in the future. But very, very excited, which is very, very stressful, because you have to constantly look at what you're building and make it make it sort of like update ready. You know, you need to, if you build a project that is sort of like too stuck in a place, then it's really hard to adapt. If the market is all of a sudden shifting towards something, it's really hard to respond if the project is not built in a smart way. So I try to think about this when I get to create new drops or new projects that are coming up, like what I'm building for the end of July-ish, to give you sort of like a date. Don't quote me on this, but end of July-ish, it's something that we started building already, and like a month back, and it requires so much development that it has to be updatable. So when you actually get to when it's supposed to be released, you need to be able to do a few fixes just to fit it even better in the market situation of that time.
No, that's awesome. I mean, look, I am, like I said, I'm confident, but I'm also excited. You know, I like when you drip little teasers out, but you know, leave some surprise. You know, to enjoy it. I just got to say, like, you know this, but I mean, I remember, a couple weeks into collecting Nifties, and our mutual friend Abana says, you got a huge drop coming. Like, you gotta check out my boy's drop. And so I was like, all right, I trust him. And then, like, that was the best decision I made, because I aped in hard with, little understanding of what was going on. I picked up bits and pieces that this could be cool. And it's like far transcended, my earliest expectations, and just so excited and like so pumped for not just this, but everything you're doing in the space, man. So I'm looking forward to tonight. Looking forward to you getting out to New York eventually. Once you finish hitting the gym there, we'll get you out eventually.
I can't wait.
You, me, and Will Smith. We'll go hang out.
We'll go have a little sesh. Get our ass kicked.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for joining, Sven. Man. Yeah, everybody follow Sven on Twitter, Sven NFT. Follow the Mad Pups, follow Sergito, the whole squad. Really notable collectors, and as you can tell, they ask better questions than I do. So there you go. See you, man.
See you later, man.
All right. So yeah, I know you got to go in a few minutes here, but I want to sneak a couple more questions in, man. You talked so much about, your utilization of the architecture that is possible through NFTs. And I feel like you've really talked about it so far very humbly, and I appreciate that. I'm sure everyone watching appreciates that. But it's pretty clear to me that you're very much so trying to maximize what you can do creatively with this infrastructure that you're playing within, this crypto blockchain NFT infrastructure. So I'm curious, are you super grateful that this type of technology has allowed you to do this? Like, do you feel like you would be this way if it didn't exist? I'd just be so curious, because I know you were doing art, before this, and then now all of a sudden you have this amazing infrastructure that you're taking full advantage of.
Good question, man. And I'm super grateful, super grateful about the technology as well, and the community and the space. Like, without it, this wouldn't exist. Because I was doing art, as you say, before, but not much before. Because I started the toomuchlag project on Instagram a year ago. So it's exactly a year and 2 months now. So when I did my first drop on Nifty Gateway, it was exactly a year that I started the project. And before then, I wasn't doing art at all. I was doing sort of 3D animation, and you could say it is art, but for me, it's not my art if I didn't commission it, So if I'm doing someone else's direction or vision, even if I'm allowed to create a concept within it, so if I have to come up with a strategy for an ad, it's my strategy, yes. But if it's an ad for a Google phone, whether it's my strategy or not, it's still an ad for a Google phone. So the ad for a Google phone can be an art piece for sure, but in that case, it wouldn't be mine, So I started doing my own art last year, when I started to have to actually sit down and think, okay, I want to make a piece. What do I want to talk about? I can do whatever. It can be a flower in a garden. It could be hands touching each other. It could be blue colors meld. It could be anything, and I chose to go through this road for what I like, and just what I wanted to do, basically, a bit randomly, So the fact that now I'm in a place where I can play with this tech in such a fun way and creative, for me it's mind blowing. Like, I'm super grateful of it, and that's also why I feel like I have a commitment to it. It's like, I've thanks to this tech, I've been put in this position. One more reason to actually try to use it to the fullest, because it offers so many possibilities, like blockchain, the blockchain art, whatever you want to call it, like NFTs, or the fact that you can create art itself with the token without even using an image. It could be an MP3. It could be actually nothing. It could be just the token itself can do amazing things. It's super fascinating. So obviously there's a lot of learning in that. There's a lot of depth that you need to go through if you want to be able to do certain things. But at the same time, there's always the possibility of collaborating. So for someone who isn't as tech savvy, there's always the possibility to find someone that is just the tech savvy part, and looking forward to find someone to collaborate with because they want a visual part. Maybe they're just really good. For example, me and Mauro sort of completes each other really well, because I do all the visuals, and I'm really good at directing projects and having a vision of where I want to bring stuff. While Mauro is like really excellent developer, and he does great music. So we sort of like complete a package really well. So there's this like symbiosis and sync that becomes really fun. Then it becomes really fun to explore and to challenge your own ideas, because you might have an idea with one piece. Let's say you want to make a flower that during the day grows, and then at night sort of like closes, and then the next day repeats. And you can do that now. You can find a way to do it. You can find a way through the tech to do it automatically. And then it's up to you to say, okay, I want to stop here, or I want to do that. If 1 million people see the flower grow, then the flower becomes 2 flowers. And then you can add a second layer to it, and all of a sudden you open a door of like possibilities, and the sky's the limit. You can just do whatever you want. So I'm grateful for the tech, without even going through why I think crypto is superior and just the solution for so many problems in the future going forward, with decentralization and non-centralized apps. But without going into that, I think like even just for art, it's outstanding what you can do.
Yeah, and that's awesome for me to hear you say, because I do think that there are a lot of artists that are outside of the digital world, outside of the sort of crypto art world, that really would enjoy it and would be able to make, major contributions. Just looking at the creativity that you've had throughout your entire kind of journey so far, it just becomes clear to me. So, I hope maybe some traditional artists that maybe are a little bit intimidated by the technology or something like that eventually hear what you said there, so that they can understand that it's not about you being good with technology yourself. You can always find collaborators, you can always find services that'll help you out with that, but rather just you as an artist expressing yourself in this new infrastructure. Even though you can still do your traditional stuff, you can still do really whatever you want.
Exactly. Like a few examples of the like Thank You X. I don't know if you know him. Probably yes.
Painter.
Thank you. Painter, exactly. Painter that used NFTs in his own way to find a new way to express his own art, rather than just like saying taking a print, scanning it, and then it's an NFT 2D, doesn't move. There's more to it. He's trying to find new ways to use the technology to further expand his tools, his creative tools. So really respect that. And I think a good example as well is the recent drop on Nifty of what was his name? Arsham, the
Daniel
sculptor
Arsham.
guy.
Yeah,
Daniel Arsham. Like, I think that drop was really clever and a really good way for a traditional artist that works with physical materials, so like a sculpture, to transform it into something digitally native and that uses the potential of the blockchain. So really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And, I've actually talked to at least one traditional artist that's now looking at NFTs thinking that they want to make that seems like it's digital, but once you
Mhm.
kind of analog. So that's, its own avenue too. It's like you're taking advantage of the NFT technology, but you're still doing it in an analog way, which I feel like, for anyone that's in the traditional world, the physical world, that's something to kind of think about too.
For sure.
All right, man. Well, I know you got a hard stop in 10 minutes, so I just want to let you plug the drop one more time here, and I'll let you go. So tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Nifty Gateway.
Exactly. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, Nifty Gateway. You have to have a toomuchlag NFT from Nifty Gateway. So from the first drop to enter the first drawing, which is a 2020, and then you need more to enter the different drawings. So there's a 2020, there's a 1010, there's a 5.5 and a 3.3, and the requirements are 1, 3, 5, and 10 NFT to get in, or one of the limited editions from the first drop. And then for each NFT that you have, you can enter the drawing as many times. So if you have 5 NFT, you can enter the drawing 5 times. So I'll give you 5 tickets to be able to win one of tonight's NFTs, which bring the story forward, and look forward to analyzing these pictures, because there's a lot of trivias in these pictures. There's a lot of hidden mysteries and clues, and little secrets as well are hidden within the pictures that will give further possibilities. So get scouting.
A lot to digest. Yeah, get to your detective work. Make sure you guys follow toomuchlag on Twitter, follow on Instagram. Get into his Discord. Any other places where these guys can find you?
I think Twitter is the best way. From Twitter, you get links to everywhere, and then the Discord is probably the best place to discuss about NFTs and the drops and whatever you need, or whatever you want to find more about toomuchlag project or the collectibles that I have. On the Discord, people will be able to help you and guide you through to everywhere.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Toomuchlag.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, man. This is Nifty Culture. Follow at NFT Culture on Twitter. Follow me at crypto_PO, and we will catch you guys next time. Thank you guys so much.
Peace.